Well, Zach and I are moving on. We're going to go deeper into this piece. There's a couple more ridges back in here that look pretty good. And from where we set up yesterday and this morning, the boot tracks have stopped now. And we're not sure if that means there's no more turkeys any further and nobody's going any further. With the wind blowing the way it is up on these tops. And there just being more green food sources and stuff down in these bottoms. We're probably going to focus on those more today. Ideally, if there is a bird in these bottoms, I'd like to get above them and try to call them up. But coming down this hill, since we've been down in here, there's a noticeable difference in just the wind noise. And as we were walking down this trail, I mentioned how quiet it is. The bird gobbled 30 yards from where we were walking. It's super windy, so he didn't hear us. He was in some thick stuff, so he didn't see us either, obviously. And he was working that way. By the time we got set up, he was probably 50, 60 yards away, but never popped out on this trail. We got a bunch of water, or not a bunch, but we got some water in front of us that he might have been on the other side of him. That could have been what held him up, but he shut up since for about 15 minutes. Haven't heard him, but the problem is he's right on our way out, and Aaron and Brody are sitting up in the parking lot waiting for us, and hopefully they leave us some food or water or wait us out, one of the two, but that bird's right on the way out and we don't want to spook it. I mean, not a whole lot of times in here.
Zach and Jake are still sitting on some turkeys right now, and me and Corn Dog are out here kind of cutting and running a little bit. And this is all public in here in this river bottom to my right. When I was telling the guys, I figured if there was locals in here with Mississippi plates that there's probably turkeys in that river bottom. It was the weekend. That was when everybody was going to be out. It was dead calm yesterday morning, so I'm assuming that people on this road would have heard turkeys gobbling in there. We've been kind of trying to figure this place out, and that's just what we do whenever we go to a new area like this. It takes some time to really figure out what the turkeys are doing, where they're at, you know, essentially where to hunt. Once you find that out, then you can worry about killing turkeys, but you got to find them first. And over here in this river bottom, you can see it's pretty green behind me. And Brody and I were up in some higher elevations this morning in the pines and in the hardwoods, and they were brown, no green growth whatsoever. And if you look, let me jump over here. If you look on these trees, see that brown right there? This area flooded real bad about a month ago, and the water is still up pretty high. In fact, there's some standing water down through this creek bottom here. But since the water has receded, you know, it was clear up to here at one point. Since it's receded back into the main river channel, a lot of these creek bottoms have greened up. And this is where the hens are going to want to be right now. And judging by OnX, if you go in about a mile, there's some oak ridges and stuff back in there that could be really good roosting habitat, and I'm sure that these turkeys are down here in these creek bottoms. So me and Corn Dog are gonna head back to camp, maybe go help Greg edit the next video, but we're gonna be back here later today. It's been so windy everywhere else that we've been going, but right here in this little creek bottom, it's kind of down out of the wind. I can hear crows back in there 400 or 500 yards away. I think that this afternoon, if the sun pops out and the wind lays down a little bit, that's going to be a good spot. So we might see you back here again later in the day. I'm excited to give this spot a try.
We've moved past that water, and now we're following tracks right up this path. There's a couple hen tracks back there that weren't there on the way in, assuming the Tom's right with these birds. Ultimately, that's probably why he never committed to our calling. The hens didn't sound very far away. But it's so thick up here, we're just going to try to get as close as we can. There's another track right there. Yep, down. Where? Strutting, it looks like. You see what I'm looking at? Don't move though, because his head's I can see his head. We've just been creeping down this road since we last heard that turkey. We figured we could go slow enough with this wind to eventually either hear him or see him. And we've seen him. Jake saw a strutting turkey. We're guessing there's probably multiple turkeys. Oh, I got eyes on him. Yeah. What are they doing? He just broke strut. He's not nervous at all, though. That's what they look like. Don't come this way. He won't mess with you. He's sluggish as heck. That ain't what you want to see right there. Crawling. That's a little more epic than that armadillo. Get out of here. There's tracks right there. Careful. Just be careful. I'm afraid they're about to go up. Well, we snuck up this creek a ways. Had a run-in with that cottonmouth. And had those birds been right where they were when we last saw them from where we first started stalking them, I think we'd have them dead by now. But they pushed over to the north side of this little cove, and they're kind of right along the transition of where the hill starts to go up there. Zach and I are both in agreement that we don't think they're going to go up top with it being this windy. They're just going to hang out in this bottom probably for a good portion of the day. We're trying to make a decision on what we want to do. I think there's a spot only 3-4 yards up the bank here where Zach can get in and be hidden well. And I'll probably just spot for him as he's sneaking up there real slow. I mean, we're within their bubble. We're living with them right now. With 100 yards, I'd say. Yeah. Let's try it.
It's 3 in the afternoon. Brody and I are getting ready to go into a different spot. This is one that we haven't been to before. We actually got a tip from one of our viewers that lives in the area, and he told us to give this spot a try. He's been hunting here his whole life, so anytime you can get a little bit of local knowledge, you definitely use it. So we're gonna go in here, do a little bit of scouting. It's windy. I don't know if we're gonna run into anything this evening or not, but if we want to hunt here in the future, we need to go in there and at least, you know, put boots on the ground and get to know the terrain a little bit. So this is already starting to look like a better spot than the one that we've been hunting. It's hard to distinguish turkey scratchings down here from deer and armadillos because there's armadillos everywhere. I guess right here it looks like turkey scratchings to me. This little pine thicket meets a field, it looks like. I don't know what's in that field, but then it goes back up again and there's probably another hardwood ridge over there on that other side. Seems like a good spot for turkeys to be. See that field down there, bro? Yeah. I just saw that field on the map a few seconds ago. You would think with this many habitat types coming together that there would be some turkeys in and around here. I mean, that looks kind of like scratching. But it ain't, it's from armadillos. I don't know, bro, we could probably get up there and set up anywhere along the edge of that field. Even though we haven't found any sign, this spot looks really good. It has everything that a turkey needs. There is water down below us here, below that field, about 200 yards away is the edge of the lake. Right here behind us, you've got that green grass, the elm trees and stuff, that ridge that runs up. Then you've got the pines right here. Then you got that native grass field out here in front of us. And on the opposite ridge over there, you've got more hardwoods, oaks and stuff. And we walked in through that creek bottom where there was all those oaks and those big roosting trees. So you never know, we might see a turkey pop out in this field. I'd like to go out there and look around for some droppings or scratching or something, but if we walk out in that field, any turkey up on the surrounding ridges are gonna see us out there. So, and anytime you're setting up on a field edge like this, you don't have decoys, you wanna sit off of the edge a little bit. If we're sitting in those pines right there in the edge of the field and a bird starts coming across it or right up the edge of it, he could easily get us silhouetted. When we're back here and a little bit more of this cover, the bird is out in the field, we got shadows and stuff on us in here. Corn Dog and I are gonna get settled in here and spend an hour or so. Like he's nervous. No, he's looking this way, so don't move.
Alright, well those birds have worked off to the north now. We're hoping that they'd work up this, where this cove narrows down to about 40-50 yards, where if they would have funneled through there, they would have been within range. But those hens took them to the north, they went up the hill, and then...
We're within 100 yards 2 times today, and he didn't leave them, so...
Yeah.
And he was up in that open hardwoods, and you could see he'd poke his head up when we'd call. But then he'd never, I mean, he's just going to strut.
He gobbled back one time. And, I mean, just being where they want to be is what's going to ultimately work, I think, or hope.
We'll see.
Here we go.
Oh shoot, there they are, buddy. You see them?
Yeah.
They're coming through the woods right there.
Yeah.
They're going to the left, bro. See them? Right behind that green bush. Can you see them? You got them?
Yep, yep, yep.
Here they come, here they come. Coming right through the grass here.
Yep.
Roadster. Roadster, my man, what did we just do? We lost him in that grass out there. Yes, man. I'm so shaking right now. Oh my gosh. They're out there about 50 yards. They were getting nervous because I hadn't called them forever. I hit that Cherry Classic Crystal on there and I just popped it a couple times and they hammered. They just gobbled one time. And you could tell there was multiple birds. And they were probably 50, 60 yards out there, and the ones turned around and I saw him kind of through the grass, you know. I couldn't hardly see him either. And he started bobbing off back to the right. So I just, like that. And they heard it and they started bobbing right through that grass right at us. That's crazy. Me and Brody haven't even been in here for an hour.
No.
About that, dude. Yes. Right here's where I was set up. Look at this pile of stuff I have. I got calls laying around everywhere. And I popped this mouth call in right when I heard him gobble over there, because sometimes, you know, you got to make that little sound to get him to commit the last bit into gun range. And that's what I had to do in this situation. They were out there like 50, 60 yards in that grass, and they were getting ready to walk off and leave because they didn't see that hen. So I just yelped, just like real quiet like that, and boom, they heard it and they started bobbing right through that grass straight at us. They came right up there. How about that, corn dog?
Pretty good.
I don't know, Zach, he's pretty long. He's pretty long. Very pretty turkey. Couldn't ask for something better than that. You know, him and that other bird probably been strutting out in that field every day.
Mm-hmm.
We just so happen to be there at the right time. It can definitely happen. Right now we've had all this tough weather. In the mornings especially, it's been misty, rain, cool, cloudy, wind's been blowing. But the last few afternoons the sun has popped out. Right now the sun's out. It's warmed up in the 60s. And on days, at least this is what I believe, on days where you have kind of inclement weather real early in the morning, I don't think toms gobble near as much. I think that also makes it tougher for the hens to find them because they're not near as active, not near as vocal. They gobble a few times on the limb, then they pitch down and just go about their daily routine. I've been calling there for a good 30, 45 minutes just off and on. And I'm assuming that they heard it way off. You know, those friction calls travel, the sound travels quite a distance even in the wind like this. I think they probably heard it and were closing the distance a little bit when I hit them again with that crystal. And I cut pretty loud on it that one time and they cut me off. Only thing that could have been better is if Corn Dog would have had tag, he'd probably had a turkey, wouldn't you?
I would.
That's all right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I put my headphones on.
I got you. How's the episode going? Greg's in town. He's editing right now.
It's coming along.
You think you'd have a few hours this evening to take some pictures?
I knew it. I knew where this was going. You were in too good of a mood compared to the way you were.
We called in 2 of them.
That's awesome.
We'll probably pack them out of here. We've got to pick up Zach and Jake at some point. The Onyx pins seem to send a little bit better, so I'm going to send you one of those.
Yeah, that'll work perfect. Yeah, I'm going to pack up and head that way.
All right. See ya.
All right. See you.
Mississippi turkey. Yeah. One of our viewers sent us a few of these turkey totes. He was wanting us to give them a try this spring. I didn't think I was going to get the chance to after missing that one in Alabama, but we can definitely try it on this guy. That's pretty slick. Bada bing. That's way better than packing them out the other way. Heck yeah.
Well, we're just walking out right now. It was a fun hunt. Getting back to the car so we can meet up with the other guys and show them the bird. That sounded funny. Show them the bird. Show them
Heck yeah,
the turkey.
corn dog. Heck yeah, buddy. Jack and Zake are gonna really flip out when they see this thing.
There they are. Their phones are dead, so they have probably no idea what happened.
Here's old Gregster.
Let's see what he thinks. It's about time, boys. Keeping me waiting in suspense. Yeah. Way to go, corn dog.
Corn dog, good luck charm, man.
Well, let's see him.
He's in here.
The boys were just in there hunting still. They said they were on turkeys.
Did you talk to him?
Yeah.
So they know we killed one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of funny as I was coming down to try to find you guys. Here comes 2 guys walking in camo. I was like, well, that's Jake and Zach. That's interesting. Well, somehow they knew that I was coming to meet them. They were so desperately thirsty that they were going to somebody's house. Zach said he was going to steal water from the first hydrant that he could find. I just happened to be coming down the road.
Well, Greg came pulling over the hill as Zach and I were walking up to the nearest house to try to knock on the door to ask them if we could drink out of their hose. Apparently, Aaron shot a bird. Congrats, buddy.
Gave them a jug of water, so they went back in and trying to get back on those birds, but a rope on him.
This guy, I believe his name's Paul.
I believe his name is Paul.
No,
You named him?
sent us these turkey totes.
Yeah.
It's really
That's
nice.
real handy.
Pack that thing out like that. I was like, I'm never going to the woods without that thing again.
A little bit heavier than that Bama bird.
Yeah, he's a big turkey. For down here, he is anyway.
Yeah.
You got your
That
camera
is
with you
awesome.
by chance?
Oh yeah, got it all.
In the wind, it was just hard for him to pinpoint that sound.
Yeah. Yeah, because I just feel like I know I would probably call, and most people probably would, a lot more in that situation. Just because, I mean, you get excited, you hear the gobble, you got that call in your hand, and you're like, you know, kind of feel like you got to do something. But you called, what'd you say, like 3 times? And one was just one little one right there at the end to bring
that first one, we just called on that slate.
Yep.
And I called quite a bit then. And what I usually do when I sit down in a spot, call pretty light, maybe just 4 or 5 note plain yelps, and then increase the volume to try to get a response. And I called quite a bit there for a good, 30 seconds or so. I probably had 3 or 4 series of yelps, but then didn't call for a while. We just sat there and listened for 15, 20 minutes. Give any birds a chance that would have heard that up and around that bowl to come in and investigate a little bit. But when I hit the crystal, I started off with that yelp, that pretty loud 6 note, 7 note plain yelp. And then I paused, and then I followed it with that loud cutting, and that's when we got the response. So what those birds are doing is they're walking through the woods over there, and they hear that plain yelp. That gets them to raise their head up. They're listening, and then you hit them with that cutting, that loud, excited cutting, and that draws the gobble out. And that's what happened in this situation. I'd be willing to bet. And then I shut it down on them. After that, they gobbled. They were like 100 yards, and I'm like, oh man, they are coming. They're coming for sure. So I set that call down, and I was stumbling around, spilling stuff out of my vest, and finally got that mouth call that I wanted out of there and popped it in, but I didn't use it. I didn't use it until I had to, because I wanted them turkeys to come in looking for us.
You don't want to give yourself away,
No, I didn't want to give away our exact position, because that can hang them up sometimes. They come into 50 yards, and if they got to a position in that field, which in hindsight we know now that the grass was too tall, like you could have probably got away with more calling. But if that field was short, they could have just went out in the middle of that thing and saw where that call was coming from and just popped strut. It's 60 yards, and they'd been out of range. But what happened was they came in, and because of the wind and the lack of calling, they didn't know exactly where we were. They answered us when they were 100 yards, but then they came in, and once they got to 50, 60 yards and they didn't see a hen, they turned around and they started walking the other direction. And that's when I yelped just that 4 or 5 note plain yelp on the mouth call. I did it just loud enough that it would get their attention, and they immediately start walking straight at the tree. I'm gonna call Matt real quick. Matt, what's up, man?
What's going on?
Oh, we just got done packing out a turkey.
Y'all got one?
Yeah, we did.
Good deal, man. I'm glad y'all got on one.
Well, 2 gobblers come right in.
That's awesome,
together.
man. I'm glad y'all got one.
And we whacked one of them about 20 steps.
All right, man. Glad y'all got one, and if you have any more luck, let me know.
All right, will do, Matt. Thanks a lot, man. That's cool right there. One of our viewers just has been keeping up with the turkey tour and messaged us and said, I'm familiar with the area that y'all are in, and be willing to let you know kind of where the hunting pressure is and where it's not. And anytime you can get some help like that, or at least me, I'll take it. I need all the help I can get. There ain't no doubt. And Matt didn't necessarily point us to that exact spot. He just gave us, a handful of options of different areas we could go that would be kind of harder to access, that some folks may be overlooking. And I don't think he'd been into that area before when we killed that turkey, but me and Brody slipped in there and found some birds, so I was pretty tickled to get to call him. That's neat. Well, that's what hunting's all about, just everybody working together. And in this case, I was the beneficiary of the whole deal, but hope to repay the favor at some point.
Ah, dang.
Y'all eat it.
Did you look in that cooler?
So we came back to camp tonight, And we're waiting for Greg and Zach and Jake to get here. We pulled in, and these guys are sitting here making us jambalaya, back straps, bringing us food. We got a cooler full of food that they brought us down here. Darren, Keith, and Paul.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys.
No sweat.
They can come down here and help us poor folk and feed us tonight. So, pretty rad day, actually. You know.
Kill a turkey, eat good food.
Yeah, this is the best venison I ever had.
McDonald's.
Better than McDonald's.
Oh, that's me saying that.
But it was McDonald's.
He's in the back of a truck.
He's really long. Yeah, I see.
Real good stuff, guys.
Quest for the longest bird.
The moment of truth. I think we decided a loose snoot.
I don't know, man. He's kind of a short but fat guy. You know?
Yeah, he's got more mass than yours, does. Yeah. All right, buddy. Do the honors.
Oh, he's short. He's short.
Oh, dude, he is actually
He's way short.
What'd you do? Well, we got 42 3/4. We'll give him 43. Hashtag short. Dang, dude.
Hashtag short bird. That's right.
Well,
I can't believe you shot that thing more.
yeah, I'd have passed this guy.
Yeah, no kidding. He definitely needed at least 3 or 4 more months.
That's hilarious.
Dang it. 40.
He's definitely
Almost.
heavier than the one I shot.
After a whole day,
It'll actually take him
I'm
home.
sitting in the woods, no water and food. Greg comes to the rescue. When these guys come to the rescue, Webb gets a bird. We're on some birds. Pretty good day.
They said that you guys filmed the tom with the hen most of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, we were just trying out with him.
3 or 4 hours.
He did that weird gobble, whatever. It was pretty strange. I was convinced it was a Jake, but he heard a couple full gobbles.
There's nothing
Yeah,
up on
that's
top.
where these
They're
toms
down
were at,
bottom.
was down low. Me and Brody basically, this morning when we were walking around, we were hugging the tops of those ridges, and I'm like, man, the way that this terrain lays, you're more exposed at the top of the ridge than you are down in the ditch itself. So this afternoon, we dropped down in the ditch and worked our way clear down in that bottom where those birds were at. Turkeys love nesting and strutting, feeding, whatever, in grass and cover that's about waist high or slightly lower, because they can use that to escape predators, but then they can raise that periscope head up and see everything.
They lay down in that stuff too.
Right, they can.
They
And
can see everything.
we got down to that field, and like there's a nice strip of pines coming in. There's another little ridge falling off that's nice and green. It's got some locusts on it, some elms, and then right across from it there's a big oak ridge that goes straight up and way back in the lake bottom. And we didn't find any tracks, droppings, or scratching, but me and Brody were just thinking, like, what more does a turkey need? Like, he has everything right here. So let's just set up and see, what we can call in or what we can hear, essentially, because down low we could actually hear much better. I'm sure you guys saw that today too. Wind's howling on the top, you can't hear nothing up there, but if you go down low, they might have been 200 or 300 yards up about halfway up the opposite ridge.
Probably.
And I barely heard them. Barely. I didn't even know it was turkeys. Until I called 15 minutes later and they cut me off at 100 yards, and then my suspicion was confirmed. Like, yeah, there they are. And
Hashtag gobbleface.
yeah, oh yeah. Brody filmed a complete and total gobble face today. Yeah. So we backed off about 10 yards off the edge of the field, and we had some good shadows and stuff there, and the field was.
The wind was blowing.
Yeah, wind was blowing, and the field was really well lit. The sun was, pretty high in the sky at 3 in the afternoon, so it was beating down on the center of that field. And at one point they turned around and I thought they were going to walk off, so I just yelped at them real quiet.
I feel like the wind does that to them too. Like they'll kind of just get lost in the sense of where they're.
Yeah, but as soon as I yelped, they both, periscope up, and they just drilled down on my position and walked straight at me.
Forward march, huh?
Yep. Both of them had their snoods down when they were coming in, and most I could just see flashes of black coming through the weeds. But you'd see their heads bobbing through there. They were bobbing through there, and I was waiting for them to hit the opening, because right along the edge of the field there's a little strip that's about 10 foot wide that's mowed. He saw there was no hen, or he saw that gun barrel, and at that point it was like from me to the Hummer, and He was
At that
just
point, you
standing
blacked
there.
out and you pulled the trigger.
Well,
Yeah.
would y'all
Said,
have
Brody,
any?
you better be on it.
Would y'all have any objections to me starting a GoFundMe for corn dogs so we can get a tag?
Talking about a we've been talking seriously about a GoFundMe. At least Jake and I have.
We started doing it. You guys don't want to.
Well, we're funding the Go Feed Me.
Which is a big part of it. Really, like that's what we spend the most money on the food.
Kept
I,
you away.
I was sitting up underneath the roost where Brody had heard a bird gobble yesterday morning, and I just got done calling, and I heard like a big group, like, and it was getting louder. The leaves crunching. It's coming right at the ridge, like right for these roost trees. This is an armadillo.
Well, they fooled us.
They sound about like squirrels to us.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell when they're digging in the ground. You can tell, okay, that's an armadillo because you can hear
See,
them.
what messes me up
You can hear
is
'em
like
scratching.
down here you got hogs and armadillos that root the ground up everywhere.
Yep.
It makes it hard to recognize turkey
You
scratch.
have to, you have to look.
on acorns
You have to
heavily.
look for the throw pattern from a turkey.
Right.
Because when
And the V shape.
Right.
A hog is just going to push.
If it's
Right.
an armadillo, you'll see tunneling down into the ground. Hog, they just push and root stuff up in front
You
of
got to
them.
look for
You
that.
gotta
You
look
just-
for
you
that.
learn to differentiate.
Why.
Kind of thought the food might be the highlight of the day, but you ought to go and kill a bird.
Still, it is for Zach and I.
Seeing Greg was truly the highlight. Of I was just like, how is this real right now? Why is he here at whatever time it is? We don't know what time it is.
You made the comment earlier.
Warbringer, water bringer.
I'm glad y'all killed a bird this evening.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Faster than you did in Alabama. That's awesome.
I'm glad they did also, or they did right.
So you get to sleep in tomorrow or no?
No.
No.
Got
Gotta
another
make
tag.
hay when the sun shines.
I hear that.
Okay. So you just want
Like
me
that.
working on the turkey?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're putting the wrap on a pretty good day in the Mississippi turkey woods. I'm gonna finish dressing this bird. The boys are finishing eating dinner over there. And tomorrow, we're supposed to have some pretty good weather. So it should be interesting. I think we're gonna get on a few more birds before we leave the state of Mississippi. Greg and Brody and Zach are all leaving Wednesday morning. So it'll just be Jake and I here for the second half of the week. But we're not done chasing Mississippi turkeys yet. We've got lots more action coming your way here in the next few days, I hope. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and make sure and like this video. It helps us out more than you know. And really appreciate everybody tuning in. Look forward to seeing you next time.